Hey, it's Bill. You're tuned into the Pennsylvania Rock Show, episode number 741. At the top of the show, we heard a very odd intro song because normally, being named the Pennsylvania Rock Show, I'm going to play as many songs from Pennsylvania as I can. This one is a get out of town song, but it's kind of fitting with my guest tonight. It was Duncan Coker, and this title of the song was Nashville Dream. And then we also heard a brand new song from Five of Cups, Rock is Dead. For those of you that were here for that episode quite a while ago, the Five of Cups, I don't know, like solo artist, he plays everything. Anyway, he and I have a shared teaching experience, so that's a cool link. But I do want to mention we're coming at you from musicfrom412.com, buildascene.com, xrpradio.co.uk in Scotland, roodaroo.radio.com out of Texas and Florida, Texas and California, megarockradio.net and 107.1 WKFGD St. Louis, Missouri. And with all of that, who am I forgetting? Oh, always going to mention firstangelmedia.com as well. So this is episode 741. With me tonight is Jared. Is it Grease? Have I been saying it wrong?
No, you've been saying it right, man.
Grease,
just like
okay.
the country.
Okay.
Just like the country.
So Jared, formerly of this parish. There, now I sound sound like Mark Madden. So I kind of threw in the show notes that you were in the band Hybrid.
Yes, sir.
This would be the late 90s.
Early 2000s, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, early 2000s. Yep.
It all kind of blends together at this point.
Yeah, it does. It's hard to believe that it's been over 20 years, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just celebrated 20 years of the PA Rock Show 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
So I've told this story before, but I've been to Purple's exactly one time, and you were playing guitar, and
okay,
they were trying out singers. Are you remembering this?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah. Terry McCausland, now known as Terry Lee Spencer, and why can't I remember the other guy's name? It's terrible.
Brian
Lasky.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. I couldn't remember the last name, but I remembered the first name.
And that was the Terry ultimately being chosen and Brian moving on and playing in various other bands that have all been featured here as well.
Yeah.
But that was a different night for me because I was standing with Tim Henry, who I'm sure we're going to talk about later at some point.
Oh, of course. Of course.
And he and I were helping make the decision on who was coming in. And I don't know how I got involved in that and how much say I really had, but, but I was asked. I'm sure I was just being nice.
Hey, that's all cool.
So you're teaching elementary music, correct?
Yep. Yes, I am.
Now, is that what brought the move on, or were you headed there for the Nashville Dream, as Duncan Coker was singing earlier?
Nashville Dream, but the teaching thing is cool because you have a better set schedule. I mean, I don't have to worry about working nights or anything or weekends, so it gives me a lot of room to basically do any other music stuff that I want. Now, granted, if I have a late night gig, that does make work the next day a little bit challenging, and I'll have to make sure and hook myself up with some coffee. But that's how that goes.
Now, does your wife also teach music? Did I have that correct?
Yes.
But not at the same school, right?
No, same district, different school.
And See, I kind of see it going on Facebook.
Yeah. You're doing your homework.
um, and I think I've a couple times I've seen you repairing the instruments so you could use them in the classroom as well.
Yes.
So a little
Yep.
bit of a luthier. I'm going to say that wrong. It's French. Luthier, luthier. Come on.
Luthier.
It is
Yeah,
French though,
luthier.
right?
You know what? That sounds good to me. Probably though, probably. But yeah, I mean, I'm not a trained luthier, but whenever you have somebody that you have a broken ukulele or a broken cheap guitar, I can fix that fairly easily.
um, so are you doing session work while you're there?
A little bit. I'm doing more hired gun type of stuff, though that slowed down a little bit because of the pandemic, I won't lie. But it's been picking up a little more. I've been doing some bluegrass stuff for a friend of mine that's a songwriter in the area. So I'm kind of new to the whole bluegrass thing. I've been a fan of bluegrass for many years, but I've just been kind of a casual bluegrass player. So I've had to kind of do some wood shedding to to get my chops up a little bit for that. Because that's whenever you're playing an acoustic guitar, there's no distortion or effects to hide behind, especially with that style of music.
So a few months ago, I was talking to someone else from Nashville and I dropped your name and knowing he wouldn't know who you were. But now I'm
Yeah.
going to drop his name to you. And then
Okay.
your homework is to track him down. And you're really going to want to.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Cool.
So his name is Buck Johnson. And
Buck Johnson. Okay.
he, up until recently, was the touring keyboardist with Aerosmith. And
Oh wow.
the Hollywood Vampires and various other big name bands that you know of. And he's living in
Yeah.
Nashville. And he told me the coolest thing is he's out cutting his grass and nobody knows who he is. So we're out of
Yep. Yep. That's awesome.
there.
And that's kind of the vibe down here in Nashville too. I mean, like you're supposed to, if you run into anybody, you're not supposed to bother them. Like it took everything I had in me. We saw Michael Stipe of REM at a coffee shop, and man, I wanted to say something, but I was like, no, the dude's sitting there eating a sandwich. I've got to leave him alone. So the only thing I did when we were leaving, I wished him a good day and went along my merry way. But yeah, in Nashville, you got to keep it cool whenever it comes to like celebrities and stuff like that.
I imagine they're
So,
everywhere.
oh yeah, you never know when you're going to run into them.
I can't
You never
remember if
know.
it was him or another person that I interviewed that told me that the problem with Nashville is the person that's delivering your pizza is a better guitar player than you are.
He's not lying. He's not lying. Yeah, because you just never know. The guy delivering your pizza, whoever's making your coffee, you just never know. I mean, I'm a classically trained musician and have been playing for 33 years, and yeah, you just never know who's going to mop the floor with you. But everybody's pretty cool down here, though. I mean, it's competitive, but it's not how am I trying to say it? It's not aggressively so.
So it's not
You know,
cutthroat.
no, definitely not. Definitely not.
Um, so I imagine that there's a lot of open mic deals going on. Do you go to a lot of those?
I did whenever I was younger. Whenever we kind of first moved here and we're doing our thing. Um, it's been maybe a year or two since I've done an open mic. Um, I've just because I've been doing a lot of like playing for other people, I kind of got away from writing my own music. And I've been doing that more lately, been trying to get back into writing. My strength is not always writing lyrics, so that's the one thing that's been a little challenge, kind of getting back into the lyrical side of things. So Once I start getting a little bit of a catalog back together, I'll probably start hitting up more open mic nights again.
Well, speaking of writing and playing your stuff and other people's stuff, we're going to take our first break, and I I did manage to get Hybrid Cruel Intentions.
Nice.
And I did also manage to get a copy of the Leslie Bowe song Freedom.
Oh, good.
This is
Good.
where I need you to tell me it's okay to play that second one, though.
Yes, it is okay for you to play that.
Okay.
Yes.
So before we head into listening to those, pick one of them, either or, and just give me like a MTV Storytellers moment about one of the songs.
Oh, well, oh man, both of them are have kind of interesting backstories. Since I have more in the writing process with the hybrid song, I'll talk about that one. At the time, I was listening to a lot of Irish music, and I remember like Steve and Matt kind of more Steve kind of chuckling over the Irish stuff, calling it leprechaun music just to harass me. And I don't remember word for word, but I said, you know what? Someday I'm going to write something using an Irish tuning, and it's going to be awesome, and I'm going to rub it in your faces. So whenever I was at home, I had my acoustic guitar, and I tried a tuning called Dadgad, which is very popular in Irish tuning, or I mean in Irish music. And we here I ended up using that for Cruel Intention, and it ended up being one of our more popular songs that we did during my time with them. And I think that's one that carried over whenever they even after I left the band.
And
So
I know
yeah,
it was actually covered by another band on what was the name of that record label? Dream something. Wow, I can't remember it. I remember who was it was John Lane, and one of his bands covered it.
yes, his band weren't they from Ohio or something,
Yes,
or weren't they based out of Ohio?
They had to change their name, but when they first were working together, they were FMA, Future Murderers of America. And,
oh, okay.
And
yeah.
Changed it to, I think, Full Motion Animation, maybe. Same letters.
That's a little less aggressive.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna take a break. We're gonna listen to Hybrid Cruel Intentions and Leslie Bowe Freedom. And on the video side, I'm gonna give away 2 tickets, courtesy of Dressy Entertainment, and we will be right back. What's up, everyone? It is Bill from BuildTheScene.com and Music from 412.com with your weekly Dressy Entertainment concert ticket giveaway update. We have 2 tickets for each of these shows. We have Mushroom Head with Upon a Burning Body, plus There Is No Us, Mind Incision of Preserving, Trace Lads at the Craft House, Samantha Fish, Rough Records with Canned Heat, Bernard Allison, Mitch Ryder, Galia Volt at Carnegie of Homestead, Nelson with Xander Damos, Post Traumatic at Jurgles, Yngve Malmsteen at the Oaks Theater, Exodus with Havoc, Candy, and Dead Heat at Preserving, Justin Fabus with the Borstal Boys at Craft House Stage and Grill, the Almond Betts Family Revival at the Palace Theater, and the House Rockers Holiday Extravaganza featuring Joe Grushecki and the House Rockers, and a reunion of the Iron City House Rockers at the Craft House. For more information, head to musicfrom412.com/contests. It's that time of the night where I'm going to give away 2 tickets courtesy of Dressy Entertainment. This week's show is Richie Kotzen with Super Monkey on Monday, October 7th. It's at Jurgles, 21 and over only. Early entry is 5 p.m. Doors are 6 p.m. 8 p.m. is showtime. To win 2 tickets to this or any of the shows that were mentioned just a moment ago, go to musicfrom412.com/contest. On this week's episode, we have 5 people to enter: Jeff Brooks, Keith Ladig, Tom Trainer, Lily Six, and Andrew Carr. I put all of their names on there multiple times. I'm going to shuffle it 2 times as always, and then I'm going to hit the spin, and we're going to find out who's winning those tickets tonight. And tonight's winner for the Richie Kotzen tickets is Keith Lady. Keith, you know the drill. Watch for your email giving you the information on how to pick up those tickets. And we will be back with Jarrett Grease momentarily. Hey, it's Bill. We are back for segment number 2 with Jarrett Grease. Right before the break, he told us a little bit about the song Cruel Intentions and said that the other song we were playing that he was involved with also had a cool story. So we're going to let him talk about that too. You just heard it as well as Leslie Bowes' Freedom. And I'm going to be quiet for a little bit.
Yeah, Leslie, I met him through a mutual friend. Leslie needed a guitar player for this gig at South Park Amphitheater, and I got to play the gig with him. There were several thousand people there. Really, really cool vibe, and then just became real good friends with Leslie. And he was living in Pittsburgh at the time, and he asked me to do some recording for him. So I played bass and guitar on the album that Freedom was on. And literally, no sound booth. We were in his apartment, and he set up a microphone in the hallway of this old Yinzer apartment in Pittsburgh. And he said, "Okay, man, I just want you to go to town, just play some mariachi sounding stuff, and just go, just play." So I did it all in one take. Didn't even have to go through it again, which is a rarity. But it was real fun. It was a real blast to record that album with him.
Now, that in the hallway kind of makes me go back to how this show used to be, where bands were playing in my living room. But I can't remember. Were you ever in my living room?
One time, I believe Terry and I came. One time.
I have to go back and see if I can find anything. Somewhere I probably have a recording of that.
Probably,
maybe. I have a hard drive I threw away.
Oh no.
I mean, 20 years in, there was a lot of data.
Oh yeah, I bet. I bet.
So I haven't asked you any of my normal PA Rock Show questions yet.
Yet, okay.
We're gonna start off with the official and the unofficial Build a Scene questions.
Okay.
So the official one is, who's your Dave Grohl? And by that I mean, who do you want to go up on stage with and perform one of their original songs?
Gavin Rossdale of Bush.
You used to kind of look like him, even though I always said it was Bruce Kulick. And I really was going to try not to say that, but
yeah, that might have been on purpose. I mean, I still have the long hair, but I mean, it's just pulled back. But no, I mean, there's many, but if I had to pick one just right off the top of my head, it would be Gavin Rossdale of Bush.
Any song in particular?
Wow. Now that is a question. Probably Everything Zen by Bush, because I love the slide part in that. I just love playing. I used to play that whenever I was in my cover band with my friends Bonnie and Brandon Vatter before I got into Hybrid. And we actually opened up a couple times for Hybrid when I was in that band, whenever Tim Henry was still in Hybrid, and John, wasn't that their lead singer?
John McCausland, yeah.
Yeah. So
I've seen him for a few years.
Yeah. But Everything Zen by Bush, yeah, that would definitely be the one I'd want to play.
So the unofficial question, which almost overtook the official one when Dave Grohl had his thing recently, but I decided to stick with it. The unofficial question is, what is the best pizza you've had because you're a musician?
Oh, the best pizza I've had. Oh man, that's a fantastic question. There was a place up in Holiday Park that had, was it Vincent's Pizza? I want to
It's
say, I
in
think it
there,
was in Holiday Park.
right? If I remember, I think now it's Bishop's, but it was right near the fire hall.
I think so. I recall it being up on the hill, and you could
Oh,
only pay cash. There were no cards.
okay. Maybe that was like up by the old bowling alley.
See, I'm not as familiar. Like, if you'd say near the Sheets or something, I would know that.
Well, I can't say that because the Sheets has moved.
Yes, yes, it has. It has. But no, I just recall it being on the right, like whenever I'm heading from like Salzburg into the Pittsburgh area, and I remember it being up on the hill, and I want to say it was Vincent's or something like that. Yeah, yeah.
I keep telling guests that my ultimate goal is at some point I'm going to go back and re-listen to all these, and I'm going to try all the pizza places that are still open. But
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not really going to happen. But it's a good story.
Hey, it's a good thought, and a good challenge.
So what? Give me a favorite venue in the Pittsburgh area and a favorite venue in the Nashville area.
Man, if I could even remember the names of some of these places. Back in the day, I loved Nick's Fat City in Pittsburgh. Loved Nick's Fat City. Going to shows, playing shows. I loved that place. The stage was really high, which was a little bit of a trip. But yeah, that one was really good. And as far as Nashville goes, man, there are so many. Probably my favorite one that I've played down here is the Franklin Theater in Franklin, Tennessee. It's kind of like the Casino in Vandergrift, but a little bigger. But I mean, kind of that vibe, just an old theater. I got to play there with a young songwriter down here for a fundraiser, and we actually got to open for Josh Turner, a country singer, and yeah, that's quite a cool venue. Very cool.
Okay, so this is a question that I don't know.
Yeah, that's all right.
How like you keep talking about playing with all these different musicians and doing session work, and how do you get into that? Like I'm assuming there's not like a list of names, but is there a list?
No, I mean, I'm sure there is, depending, the higher up you go. No, I ended up a lot of it through friends, just networking, getting to meet people, playing gigs. I have a friend down here, well, several friends down here that for a while there, if somebody needed a band, they would call us up. And, I get a call from my buddy Michael, who's a drummer, and say, hey, man, I have this gig at the Rutledge in a month. Would you be able to play it? And of course, I jump at it. So it's mainly networking and just by knowing people and getting to know people and talking to people. Because everybody plays down here,
right?
As we discussed earlier, everybody plays.
That's why I was like, is there a list?
Yeah, I'm sure there is somewhere.
Maybe each individual person has their own lists.
Yes, yeah.
How about let's take another break and we'll come back and chat a little bit more if that's cool with you.
Absolutely, that'd be great.
Okay, so we're going to hear from Hunter Root and his song "Run from the Devil" here on the Pennsylvania Rock Show. Hey, it's Bill. We're back with segment number 3 on episode 741 of the Pennsylvania Rock Show. You just heard Hunter Root and his / their song Run from the Devil. That's kind of a country rockish song. We're going to get heavy at the end.
Nice.
So with me is Jared Grease, formerly of Hybrid, back in the early 2000s. I do still play some of that stuff, but I had to track Cruel Intentions down. It must have been on that old drive that I threw away, which is weird because I had the other 2 tracks off that EP.
Really?
I did. So I don't know what happened.
Well, Live Again is one I wrote basically in its entirety. I wrote the music and the lyrics for that one. So yeah, that one was a pretty cool one. And then Falling was just kind of kind of just a mishmash of like different riffs that we had that we put together to make a song.
The cool thing about that EP was I got a copy ahead of time, like a burned CD, and then I got an actual copy afterwards.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of that kind of stuff happening for me. Which is still cool, by the way. If anybody wants to give me advanced copies of stuff, I love that. So I told you while we were off the air listening to Hunter Root that I was going to ask you about your gear, and seems to be quite a few guitars behind you.
A little bit. I have a few. I have a few.
So, why can't I think of his last name? It's terrible. Bill
Duff.
Thank you. Bill Duff also had a bazillion guitars.
Yes, he did. My collection is a very modest collection compared to what my man Bill had.
I was actually working on a website for him where he was going to start selling them.
Oh wow!
But it didn't get finished.
No.
But he was awesome. I only talked to him a handful of times, and he was always super nice to me.
He was my best friend for 30 years, and just you couldn't ask for a nicer human being. I mean, totally supportive. I mean, a great teacher, great musician, just an all around great human being. And he was in my wedding too. He was one of the groomsmen in my wedding, and played for my wedding. So, yeah.
I started a rock show right at the same time ish that I started teaching.
Okay.
I started teaching it at the end of 2000, and by 2004 I was working full time. So between 2000 and 2004, I was subbing at Apollo Ridge, and I walked the class.
Oh, nice.
Walked the class down to music, and it was him, and I had never really. I'm like, aren't you Bill Duff? And that was really the first conversation I ever had with him.
Yeah. And you were asking about guitars and stuff, and
yes,
I actually have this guitar here. Is a guitar, a Telecaster that Bill put together before he passed away, and I love all my guitars, but it's become my go-to for a lot of reasons. It's just, I mean, for Bill to put it together and use the parts that he did, you knew it was going to be one of his players, and just the fact that it's special because it was put together by him, because he was a trained luthier. So
that begs the question: when you're playing that guitar, do you have to wear black and white checkered shoes?
No, but I do have a pair. Thanks to my friend Bonnie. But I do have a pair. But I have high arches, so they don't do too well for me. I told Bill, I was like, I don't know how you could do this.
I saw him at Sheets in New Kensington one time, and I was stopping for gas, and 2 hours later I was going back to where I was headed. We stood in the parking lot and just talked music for 2 hours. It was great.
Yep, that's it.
So he's a perfect segue into the guitars, though. So tell me a little bit about the gear that you have, and maybe what's your what your go-to setup is when you're on stage.
Oh man, well it depends on the gig. Electric guitar wise, this is a guitar that I've been using forever. This is my Les Paul Honeyburst that I've named Honey, and I've had it since I was a teenager. But it's been on countless recordings and sessions. I used it. It was pretty much the main guitar I used for that hybrid EP. But amplifier wise, I tend to use Fender amplifiers, and I have a small Mesa Boogie amplifier that I use for like heavier gigs. If I'm doing like a harder rock gig, I'll bust out the Mesa Boogie for that, which I've had a few of those down here as well.
Is there anything that if you forgot it at home, you would have to turn around and go and get it before you could play? Is there anything that's that important to the guitar?
This guitar, yeah, because I mean, I can plug it directly into an amp and not worry about pedals and stuff. But no, this is between this and the Purple Telecaster. They're kind of my go-to electric guitars as of late. And this one, like I said, it's been my go-to since '96. So
I'm trying to remember. I saw you and Bill, and I think Tim too, on the same night.
oh yes, yeah, down in
and-
Salzburg.
Yes, and I'm trying to remember the name of the venue. I can see it. I remember parking because it was street parking, and it was a tiny place, and I can't remember the name of it.
Point Street Tavern.
That's it.
And Point Street Tavern.
So in my show notes, I mentioned that you do come back here and play shows. And that was the one I had in my head when I was thinking of it. But like, what is it about here that brings you back to play?
Well, originally, it was just getting to play with. Well, not originally. It's getting to play with friends and getting to have like people that grew up around me be able to come catch me, because it's a little harder to see me down here in Tennessee. It's a little bit of a drive, but it started out, friends of ours own that venue. They own that little tavern, and Bill and I wanted to start playing again whenever I was home. So we got together and threw those gigs together. And there was one time that Bill had double booked himself. I think he was playing, I want to say, for Kataning's musical or something like that in the pit orchestra. So that's whenever Tim Henry started getting involved in some gigs. And then Bonnie, who was my good friend of mine growing up, that played in bands with me and stuff, and she's a percussionist and a singer, so we brought her in. So it's just a good chance to get out and play and have people hear us that otherwise might not get to hear us anymore. And Bonnie lives in Alaska, so I mean it's even harder for her to get down here to play. So, but yeah, it's cool, and getting to play with Tim again. I love playing with Tim. Dude's a powerhouse.
For anyone who's not familiar, Tim is the frontman and guitarist of Sour Mash, and if you haven't checked them out, it's sourmash.com, I believe.
Yes,
and it's kind of southern rock, kind of country-ish on a couple songs, which I would have never said with him, but it's definitely there.
Yeah, oh yeah, most definitely. And he's got the chops for it. All those guys do.
They're constantly winning Josie Awards for anyone who's familiar with those. They're a great band.
Yes, yeah, most definitely. Definitely go out and see them if you get the chance.
So are there any of those shows coming up? Do you have anything planned, or are they just kind of, like, do you guys talk about it, or is it just, hey, I'm going to be in town, can you?
Somewhere in between that. They're a little more planned out than that, but not much more. Normally, I don't have anything scheduled right now, but was going to try and figure out something over like the Christmas holiday, because I'm home for almost 2 weeks there. and Bonnie might be home, so it'd be cool if she's able to play, and hopefully Tim Henry too. Yeah, so but nothing scheduled, nothing in the books for that yet.
Not
Yet.
come to think of it, now that you mentioned Christmas, I think the time I was there was Christmas because I remember there were white lights, like Christmas lights on the window behind you.
Yes.
I would 100% not have remembered that if you didn't say that.
Yeah, that was and that was actually the last show I played with Bill Duff. That was the last one I ever got to play with him. So you got to see it because that was 2019 because we played with it was Tim and Bill and I, and then shortly after that the pandemic hit and then nothing was going on.
Yeah.
So
that's where the improved videos started happening for this show because I was not spending 2 hours driving every day to and from school, and I needed something to do.
Oh yeah.
so I started learning how to do this better.
Nice.
Hey Jared, so I think we're going to kind of drift off into the evening so that I can get the radio show up and running here shortly. I want to thank you for hanging out with me on episode 741. And
thank you for having me.
As I told you, we're going to get a little heavier. We're going to listen to the Dematis and their song Crowns, both melodic and guttural vocals from the same female front woman. It's amazing.
Nice.
And then we're also going to hear from an old friend, Phil Martinelli. He was in something bomb. Remember Dunmeyer from Dunmeyer Furniture?
Yes. Yeah.
Phil was in his band.
Okay.
But he calls himself Rat Bastard. And the song we're going to hear is Let My Demons Run.
Nice.
So earlier we were running from the devil, and now we're going to let demons run.
There we go.
And with that said, make sure you join us each and every Monday night on buildascene.com, musicfrom412.com, and xrpradio.co.uk. And then all the stations I mentioned at the beginning of the show, you can listen to various times. And Music from 412, you can watch this starting tonight. You can watch the video on demand on the Roku, and it will also be on the Music from 412 TV network, which is another Roku app. So if you search Music from 412, there are 2 apps on the Roku. Download them both. And with that said, I will see you next week. Thanks for hanging out with us. Those of you that are on Twitch and Kick, thanks for joining us. Make sure you join us at 9 p.m. next week. And anybody who is on Facebook who does not appear up at the top of my screen, so I don't know how many people there are, thanks for hanging out with us as well. And with that said, let's listen to some Dematis and Rat Bastard on our way out.